So tonight's agenda has a presentation from Lieutenant Tamra Roberts, who will provide us an update on the Coordinated Outreach, Referral, and Engagement, known as CORE. And so we'd like to welcome Tamra for our first opportunity to hear what the good things that are happening with our CORE team.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay, great. So I'm Lieutenant Tamra Roberts. I'll be presenting the 5-month update for our full-time CORE team here in Concord. I do want to say as well that we do have 2 CORE staff members here to answer any program-specific questions after the presentation. That is Jenny Robbins. She's their Chief of Programs. And then we also have Michael Callanan, who is their Program Manager. So if there's any questions I can't answer, they'll be there to answer those kind of program-specific questions for anyone who has them. And I'm going to go ahead and try to share my screen here. All right.
We have to try, there it goes.
All right, everyone can see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, so here we're doing the CORE update. Just to give a little background, as of March 1st of 2021, a CORE, Coordinated Outreach, Referral, and Engagement team of 2 staff members has been working full-time in the city of Concord. The goal and purpose of the CORE team is to engage and stabilize homeless individuals through consistent outreach in order to facilitate and deliver health and basic needs services, and also secure permanent housing. The CORE team also serves as the entry point to Contra Costa County's coordinated system for unsheltered persons. Here's some statistics from March 1st to August 3rd. We did a 5-month period just in order to have all the data collected and entered in time for this presentation. So that's why it's 5 months versus 6 months. But you can see there the number of homeless contacted is 250 individuals. 210 of those were repeat contacts. So someone who CORE has contacted before, and they're recontacting them. 53 of those were direct calls from our police department requesting CORE's assistance. And that number is actually really low. The true number is higher. That was recorded by CORE dispatch, but we actually have our community impact unit who has a direct line to the 2 CORE staff members that work, and they frequently call them daily, actually. So that number is much higher. And then we have people or contacts that were directly called into CORE, so like 211 or through some other avenue. That number was 75. And then 184 of those contacts were the CORE team members just going out on their own, looking for individuals that they could help, that sort of thing. So here we're talking about referrals and placements. When we say referred to shelter, that top line, that's when the CORE team informs the client of available placement, available shelters, available hotels, motels. Unfortunately, those offers are not always accepted, but that's why it says referred, because they did inform the client of an available shelter. So out of the 250 they contacted, there were 42 that they were able to refer to the shelter, 2 that they referred to some type of treatment. There were 9 either shelter or hotel placements, 1 treatment center placement, and 1 was placed in a housing placement. And this kind of gives an idea of some of the services that they have provided in the last 5 months. So these are the amount of people that they've given these services to. Emergency supplies, so that would consist of blankets, food, water, socks, clothing, that sort of thing. So for comfort, but also basic health needs. So 219 people were provided with emergency supplies, 48 with some type of DMV assistance that could be obtaining ID cards, things like that. 35 were given mail service, 24 stimulus assistance, 24 were a referral to county shelter. There were 23 that were provided garbage bags, 20 were provided housing coordinations. You can kind of see down the line there. We kind of went from the most commonly provided services down there, and then on to the next slide as well. So there are a variety of different hotels and motels that were being used. There were some in Concord, there were some in Richmond. So that's why those are kind of listed separately. But in all, there were 17 people that were placed in either a Concord hotel or Richmond hotel. The warm handoff you see there, that's when they actually transport the person and actually kind of deliver them to whatever kind of treatment or hospital or wherever they're kind of the service that they're providing them, they actually physically deliver them. That's what the warm handoff is. So these are kind of the age groups that they're seeing, that they're most commonly contacting. So I started kind of with the oldest age there, so over 64 years. There were 22 people contacted that were in that category. And then you can see here the most category that they've contacted is the ages between 55 and 64. But close behind that is 45 to 54 and 35 to 44. So the most common age they're seeing is between 35 and 64. 173 of the people they contacted were males and 76 were females. That gives you kind of a breakdown on gender. 83% of individuals that they contacted reported some type of disabling condition. Some of those are listed here as well. Now, these numbers, obviously, out of the 250 people contacted, these numbers are going to add up to more than that, but it's because many of them reported that they're suffering from a number of these issues, not just one. So you can kind of see there, 133 people reported some type of drug abuse. 133 people also reported some type of mental health issue. 99 reported some sort of chronic health condition. 98 a physical health condition, and then you see 80 reported alcohol abuse, 48 had some sort of developmental condition, and 4 reported HIV or AIDS. And this is listing where they lost their housing. So the city that they actually lost their housing in. Out of the 250 people contacted in the last 5 months, 116 of those actually lost their housing in Concord. The next highest number was 27, and those were from another county other than Contra Costa. 22 where they lost their housing in Antioch. 15 lost their housing in Pleasant Hill. We also had 15 that lost their housing in Pittsburgh, and you can kind of see down the line there where the others reported that they lost their housing from. Another question that we had asked them to start asking in March was what type of housing would they accept? So if we had placement for them, what placement would be suitable enough that they would accept it? You can see there out of the 250 people contacted, 147 said they would only accept single room occupancy. 105 said they would only accept their own place, their own rental. 37 said they were not interested in placement at this time. 29 reported that they would go to a shelter, and you can kind of see down the line there what the rest of them reported. So this is kind of just a comparison from the 5 months prior to them going full-time. So that was core working part-time in our city, splitting between us and Walnut Creek, October of 2020 through the end of February 2021. There was 211 contacts, 442 services provided, and 13 shelter placements. That was kind of in the thick of COVID when they were trying to get people off the streets, especially that met certain health criteria and were more at risk for COVID. So there was a lot of hotel placements going on at that time. So you can kind of see that 10 of those placements were to hotels. And then if you look at the last 5 months, March 1st through July 31st, 250 people were contacted, 561 services provided, and 9 shelter placements were made. One thing I didn't note that I meant to note on a previous slide is that since the shelter has opened up, there's been 10 more clients that have been placed since as of August 31st. So even though this only goes to July 31st, with extending it one more month, 10 more clients have been placed just in the last month. So that would take that number up to 19. And then I did want to share a few success stories. And these were shared by our community impact unit, who daily works with the full-time core team. So Concord PD's community impact unit, who we call CIU, was notified of a homeless male living near Lowe's. He was sleeping behind a large electrical box using old blankets and a makeshift tarp as shelter. CIU and CORE responded and met a male in his 60s who was deaf, communicated entirely by writing, and had trouble walking. Officers learned he was a veteran who did not want any assistance. He also appeared to be struggling with mental health issues. At that time, the shelter was closed and limited resources were available. After learning more about the male's situation, CIU felt the male could not care for his own safety due to his current mental health condition. So they placed him on a gravely disabled hold. He was sent to the hospital to receive care. And while there, CORE worked with Veteran Affairs and linked the male to alternate services for care and housing. Months later, the male has been released from the hospital and was provided housing from Veteran Affairs. Our next one, CIU officers were working with County Public Works and PG&E to abate an encampment in the canal near Costco. Officers and CORE contacted each person living in the canal in an attempt to find a more suitable living situation and link them to services. One homeless female who suffers from drug abuse and mental health concerns was found to be pregnant. She didn't know how far along in the pregnancy she was, and she refused medical assistance and help from CORE. The female also had previously delivered a baby in an encampment and then had abandoned it there. CORE notified Contra Costa Health Services and linked the female to the homeless outreach doctor. The doctor completed the necessary paperwork to take the female into protective custody, which CIU officers assisted with. The mother was subsequently able to deliver the child in the care of hospital staff. Officers were on a call in the area of Concord Avenue and the Iron Horse Trail when they noticed a 36-year-old female who appeared homeless and pregnant. Officers inquired about the female's housing situation and status of her pregnancy. They learned she was living in an encampment under the roadway and did not have a working cell phone and had not seen a doctor in several months. Officers made contact with the community impact unit, who contacted CORE. CIU and CORE responded and located the female, who was reluctant to accept services, but eventually agreed to a medical evaluation. CORE coordinated with the Contra Costa Health Services, and the homeless outreach doctor visited the female. The doctor learned the female was about 8 months pregnant, and staff is now continuing routine checkups for the female. CORE has also placed her on a priority housing list and also provided her and her boyfriend with solar chargers for their cell phones, so a phone is always available for them. And then our final one, CORE and CIU have been routinely visiting and assessing the BART lot open field along San Miguel Road, south of the skate park, in order to provide services and ensure that there are no public health concerns with any encampments. CIU and CORE made contact with a 36-year-old female on the property who had mental health concerns. She was living in less than adequate shelter with just a tarp and blankets, and there was garbage scattered around the area. CIU coordinated a cleanup of the area with Public Works, while CORE provided emergency supplies. CORE also placed the female on a priority housing list and made continual checks on her to ensure she had food, water, and adequate shelter. After a few weeks, the female was placed into a motel while awaiting permanent housing. So that's just some of the examples in the last few months of people that they were able to get off the street and assist in various ways. And just to kind of let everyone know, as far as how to report, I know we've talked about 211 a few times, but that is the best number to call for immediate needs or assistance for homeless individuals. You can also report encampments or other non-exigent concerns online at the City of Concord website via our Concord Connect or Concord Connect app on your cell phone is even the easier way to do it.